Now is the perfect time to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For 20 plus years, and in my 20 plus years of playing this card game off and on, being honest with you, I've seen a lot of ups and downs within the game, and I've actually determined this is the perfect time for a lot of you guys who may be thinking about getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Or who may have not played Yu-Gi-Oh! Before, to just hop into the game. So in this video, I'm gonna give you guys all my reasons why I think it's worth it to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And or just give Yu-Gi-Oh! A shot. And starting off with better prize structure. So if you guys are competitive like me, you guys want to be rewarded for your competitiveness. And I think right now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Prizes, while they're not perfect, like Pokemon and Magic, I think honestly, if you guys know those card games, or you guys may be Pokemon and Magic players, it's not going to be on your level. You know, you guys get cash, and you guys get a great tournament breakdown structure, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, I think it's right under that with the new thing Konami has planned in the form of exclusive print rarities similar to things like One Piece and other card games like Lorcana. Starting with the next tournament season, they're going to be giving a lot of YCS winners, the effect veilers. I think you gotta go Bass top 16, and then if you make top 32, you get a card trooper. And if you just make day 2, meaning you did really well, you got to show up to day 2 to see if you make top cut for top 32. You get an exclusive pack that's going to give you more promotion cards that you can only get at the YCS. This is really good for 2 reasons. One, it rewards players for playing in day 2, but for 2, it makes people who've been playing for a long time in the tournament circuit feel rewarded extra if they didn't make first place. In the OCG, these effect veilers are already out, and they are about, what, 2 to 3 grand on eBay. So I can definitely see the TCG ones, even though we're going to probably have more in the circulation in the OCG because they have like 1 to 2 YCSs a year. I can easily see these going for at least 1,000 to 1,500 at the very least, because most players who actually play these cards, if they play them at all, is going to want to play set, and that's going to demand a top dollar. So if you guys are really skilled for a card game, I'm going to give Yu-Gi-Oh! A try. The prize structure is getting better, and Konami did tell us they're going to give us more to come. So I think they're actually going to spice the prize structure up 10 times more. My next reason I'm going to talk about it. More reprints. One of the biggest issues with Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the beginning, honestly, is reprints. I remember back in the day, we didn't really get reprints like that until like later. I started the game in 2002, took a 4-year break, got back in and around 2012. And even in 2012, the reprint structure was good, but it wasn't consistent. You pretty much got your reprints post the national season. But nowadays, with things like Rarity Collection, tournament packs reprinting a lot of good cards, like old commons and things. And even Konami just reprinting stuff that they know is going to be good later, like the Versus stuff, for example, like some of the DD stuff, for example, and all the Rarity Collection stuff. The Rarity Collection packs, that is. Reprints is really good for the game right now. You can pretty much pick up any really good deck you want for a somewhat budget price. Now, obviously, you can't pick up the current meta decks, but you can still build some of those meta decks for not that high of a penny. You want to play pure Rizal, which is not the best version of Rizal, but it's still really good. You probably pay less than a couple $100, give or take. Now, the only thing that you have to get is the Mocharmys, but Mocharmy Fuwalos, which is pretty much the modern version of Max C, if you guys remember that awesome card, got reprinted, and it's like $15 to $20. So if you're going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now or get into the game right now, it is prime time because reprints are out at all-time high. And best thing about getting to it right now is we are in the national season. I always tell people one of the best times in general to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Is national season. Reason being, tons of players quit the game. They go to nationals, they get burnt out, they want to sell off their collections. You can easily pick up collections for a nice little penny if you guys are collectors. But even outside of picking up collections for a nice penny, the game kind of slows down post-NAS. They go into like a small little tournament season of these regionals, and cards are going to be widely available, making it the prime time to pick up stuff to get into the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. It doesn't have to be really expensive if you guys invest early. Now, it ain't going to be dirt cheap, like obviously. Like if you play the best of the best deck, like a Malice or Mitsu Rizal, with all the Mocharmys, you're going to be paying top dollar. Probably a little under $500 to $1,000 if you want things at a nice rarity. But I will say this, even if you don't want to play the best deck, there's tons of budget alternatives. One of the most recent ones is a deck called Regenesis that's seeing some decently good rogue deck play on the tournament circuit. Another deck that got reprinted heavily that's dirt cheap now that just actually won a regionals by the YouTuber pack, it is Memento Fiendsmith. You don't even need all the Fiendsmith stuff, in my opinion. Or if you do, you gotta invest like what, a couple $100 for the track. You can still build a deck for dirt cheap because all the Memento stuff got reprinted. So I'm just gonna tell you guys like this: The game is really cheap right now because a lot of the good cards and there's budget alternatives to play other than the meta deck. And you can also play different decks like Fire Kings, which is a pretty much a structure deck, and things like that. Fire Kings is a deck that was popularized by the European player Dinkabui, who took it to a YCS and actually won the event. And nowadays, everyone's been playing that on the rogue circuit in the world, a lot of rogue deck players, and they perform really well with it at locals and at regionals. And the deck is pretty much dirt cheap outside of Motermies, but the main Motermy you need is Motermy Fuwalos. Now, as far as the next reason why I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a really good game to get into right now, the powered down metagame. One of the biggest gripes with a lot of you guys have with Yu-Gi-Oh is the metagame. Right now, the metagame is powered down. I made a video that did really popular about a couple months ago called Yu-Gi-Oh! It's becoming old man, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is back. And essentially what I meant in that video is talking about how Konami is effectively slowing the game down. Like I said, I've been playing this game off and on for 20 plus years, but I remember how slow the game was back in 2002, how it was sped up to like 2008, which really wasn't that bad, but I got into a different game called Naruto CCG. You want to find out my history about that, check me out. And when I came back into the game in 2012, the game still wasn't that fast. It was faster than 2002, but it still wasn't to the point where I was like, oh my God, disgusted by it. A lot of players left the game when Pendulums came out, and I don't even think it was really Pendulums. It was how Konami power crept Pendulums to just spam stuff to the field. You wipe their field and they get all their resources back. And then Lynx came and pretty much did the exact same thing, give or take, forcing you to play the new mechanic. Well, guess what? Konami fixed all that. The current metagame right now has a Link deck, an XYZ deck. We have a good rogue deck that plays synchros in the form of White Forest. Like I said, we have decks that don't even need extra decks. Monarchs is coming out. For you Monarch fans out there, we got Fire Kings. And we got tons of different decks under the sun that, when you really think about it, pick your poison, pick your playstyle, and just play it. A deck called Labyrinth, which is an all trap card deck for you trap card fans out there, topped YCS Houston, and another one day 2 by the Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Paul Cooper. So, well, former Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro, but I still consider him a pro, but he's not like a modern pro, he's an old school pro. So, with that being said, man, when you really look at all those factors, you can't tell me this is not a good time to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because we have a variety of decks, and people's biggest misconception about the current Yu-Gi-Oh! Is games end in 1 or 2 turns. I don't know who sold y'all that lie, what YouTuber is saying games is ending in 1 to 2 turns, but it's BS. Now, granted, do some games end in 1 or 2 turns? Yes. Sometimes players just scoop it up really fast, but not because they can't play the game out. It's because they know their matchup and they know, okay, I'm not going to win this matchup anyway. Let's not play in the time, which is a whole nother topic. A lot of games I play personally go on the time. 30-minute games, 40-minute games, back and forth grinding. Both our decks are doing something semi-unfair, but it's balanced. Rizal, Malice, and all the other good decks in this format, while they are powerful, they're not like the Tier 0 formats we had of Pepe, Dragon Rulers, in their respective metas. They're just as powerful as those decks, but in a format where multiple decks are on the same power level, it just takes you to do a little bit of studying to get good with the game. So I think for that reason alone, it's a prime time to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, as far as outside of playing those good decks, another reason why you guys should get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Is good legacy decks. Legacy decks right now is huge. We got Dark Magician support coming out in the future. We have Hero support dropping in the future, making both decks really competitive, at least at tier 1.5 to tier 2 status at the very least, which is not terrible. And on top of that, we have Blue Eyes right now, which is currently a tier 1.5 deck, which pretty much means it's right up there at the neck of the meta decks, but it just ain't there yet. But who knows what's going to win Nationals? Blue Eyes could win Nationals. You can never really know. But yeah, there's a ton of good legacy decks coming out right now. There's Blue Eyes, there's our Magician. We just had Odeon. A lot of anime favorite decks that a lot of you guys can have a lot of nostalgia off of is out and doing decently well. So if you guys are an old school anime fan like myself, come back into Yu-Gi-Oh!, try it out, and figure out how to play the decks and have a lot of fun. Like, it's gonna take some practice. You're not gonna pick up a deck like in one day and learn it like this. But just like in anything that's worth playing, you have to get good at it in order to do well with said deck. So with a little bit of study, you guys should be fine if you guys want to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! And play those said decks. And last but not least, the reason to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is simply because there's an abundance of information online. This is something that goes unnoticed. Back in my day, in 2002, when I was a 12-year-old kid, we didn't have a lot of resources to go off of. We had like websites and articles, but we didn't have in-depth profiles. We didn't have spreadsheets. We didn't have combo tutorials on YouTube. A lot of that stuff we had to figure out on our own, and a lot of that stuff was gate kept. Well, fast forward to 2025, there's constant flux of deck profiles, combo tutorials. There's people that sell combos via spreadsheets. There's people that revolting against that and give you guys free combos for the decks for free. So there's multiple different routes you guys can go to get good information out there. Whether if you want to buy a spreadsheet or watch a free spreadsheet, you guys can learn a good deck like that. But once again, I have to reiterate, it's not going to stop you from getting good. You still have to practice to get good at the game. I think one of the reasons why a lot of players quit, or when they get back in the game, they do quit because they get frustrated how difficult the game is to play. Now, that is the one thing Konami has not fixed yet, but I think with the slowing down of the format, we're getting to the point where a lot of you guys will be able to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! And not really get agitated and irritated with it that fast. And also, too, considering get back into Yu-Gi-Oh! For another thing. This is a bonus one. I didn't have written down, but I just thought about it. Edison format. Edison format is huge for Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. It's huge. Edison format is for you guys that don't like modern decks but want to play old school Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's great. I think Konami needs to promote that more. And they are actually promoting it more via side events at big tournaments like YCS. And I know a lot of guys who go to these events and do well. And the reason why I think Edison is great for Yu-Gi-Oh! And why it's great for a lot of you guys to get back in Yu-Gi-Oh! And play it is because you already know the format, the game's not too fast, and once you get a refresher of the game, you can bridge into the current metagame of whatever the current metagame is and do well. So, hope you guys got some good knowledge for it, and I hope you guys check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, man, if you guys made it to the end of this video, let me know in the comment section down below. Do you guys think it's the perfect time to get back into Yu-Gi-Oh? Let me know. It's your boy Rogue Hero, and I'm signing out. Peace. We'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace.